And we're back here from behind the booth. What up, y'all? What up? Welcome back. This is my boy, DJ Axe.
Yo, yo.
What up, man? Thank you for making the drive out. You know, I know it's a tough drive from where you're coming from, or at least distance wise. I don't know about like traffic wise. You came at a pretty good time.
There wasn't any traffic coming out here.
Yeah, and just for the people that don't know, where are you from?
Palm Springs.
That's where you're from, or like that's where you live right now?
That's where I've been living for the last, I think, like 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so thank you, you know, for driving out here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for the mix. How did that feel? How did that go? I know that you were kind of saying that you haven't used that mixer that much.
I used it once
Uh-huh.
at just this new residency that I think I'm gonna get at some bar called The Hair of the Dog.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it, and it was my first time using it, so I kind of knew, like, that's why I was like messing with it a little bit.
Right.
Like, I kind of knew, like, okay, this is that. They kind of gave me the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's my second time using it.
Yeah.
And that time it was just like they just wanted to hear me go in and spin something, you know.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get a feel of what I do. So it was like 10 minutes like trying to figure everything out, and then I only DJ'd there for like 30 or an hour or so.
Mm-hmm. And that's in the area over there?
Yeah,
Palm
that's in
Springs?
Hair of the Dog, Palm Springs, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, so I know that you got a lot of stuff that that you do that I definitely want to talk about as far as like, you know, as far as like pretty much, you know, I feel like you run things down there as far as I can see from like an outside perspective. That's what it looks like for sure. So I want to dive into that, but before we get there, let's talk a little bit about like, you know, your origins. Like I don't know too much about your like origin story, you know, like how you started, when you started, you know. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Right. So I haven't been DJing that long. I've only been DJing like in the clubs and in the scene, and actually like putting the 100% that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been 5 years since I started, and at first I was a kid out of high school that didn't know what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step was I went to college, and I was stuck in college for like 3 years, just switching majors, not knowing what I wanted,
Right.
like not knowing what I really wanted to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always into music. So take a step back. I think the way that everything fell into place was because I was always into music. And in high school, I would always make music. I used to make all beats. I used to sell beats. Like that was my hustle. Like in high school, I would sell beats, sell mixtapes. I would do like the whole.
You were making beats like off what?
Off
Or
of Free Loops. Back then there was something called like Magic's Music Studio. I don't know if you heard of that.
No, I heard of Fruit Loops for sure, but not Magic Studio.
Yeah, and I was just making beats, selling them, and then I would rap.
And this like making beats thing was just kind of like you kind of just started figuring shit out, like you heard about it, or like
Yeah,
you
once
kind of
I
just dove in.
once I got into listening to hip hop,
Uh-huh.
which was like I was kind of late.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've been late to everything. Like even DJing,
Yeah.
like just 5 years ago, like I always feel like I was one step behind.
Mm-hmm.
So when I really got into music, I was probably like 13, 11. Like I'm telling you, like really late to everything. Like my parents would listen to music and
Right.
you know, but it wasn't something that I was really into. It was just kind of like,
Kind of background.
yeah, like, oh, that's a thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad introduced me to like hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to like Eminem, and like we're Mexican, so they don't speak good English. They didn't. Now they do. So they introduced me to like the Spanish rap. I don't know if you heard like Acquid, and
No, I don't think so.
they're like LA based. They're,
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I don't know a lot of like Spanish raps for sure.
Yeah, it was like all, and then there was like, I don't know, have you heard Delinquent Habits?
That sounds familiar, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like real like Mexican like hip hop with like the mariachi samples and all this.
Oh, you know what? I mean, I'm sure if I heard some stuff, I probably would recognize
Yeah,
it.
it's really they have like a couple songs that are really like, if they've been in movies, and like every time there's like a scene where like, you know, some cholos or whatever, like they'll play some of that stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, just really started getting into that, and I was like, man, like I want to do that.
Like a little bit more like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like a little bit more Mexican, like then like Kid Frost is kind of like the same kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of in that lane.
Okay.
But there was also like the ones that just rap in Spanish.
Okay.
That I really like too. But yeah, once I started getting into the music stuff, it was just like it was go from there. Like I wanted to do that. Like I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be. And then my dad would be like, oh, well, you're just like burning off, because back then it was like LimeWire, so you would just download the beats and then you would just rap on top of them, you know? He's like, everybody's doing that. Why don't you be different? Why don't you like make your own beats? So then I started getting in that realm, and it was like, first it was like, there was like Sony, Sonic. I don't know. There was like a bunch of programs back then before Fruity Loops, but it was really when I started getting into Fruity Loops that I really started to like make something out of it, where it was like, okay, like he kind of knows what he's doing, you know? Yeah. Like he's got a rhythm, he's got something.
That's cool. That's cool too that your dad was like encouraging on that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, I feel like if you talk to a lot of people about stuff like that, off the bat, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't even mess with that shit. Like, you need to keep your head in the books or whatever, you know? Like,
stay at school.
So it's cool to hear that, you know, that he was like encouraging, and even like, not only was he encouraging, but even to kind of like take it a step further, like, hey, like, dude, don't fucking just do what everybody's doing. Like, you know, take it a notch up. Like, make your own shit, make it unique, and
right,
you know, that's cool.
And I think it was just because I was falling into like the gangs, and you know that whole culture, like early 2000, like it was all that gangster rap, and I kind of fell into that. So I think he just wanted me to do anything else besides go that route. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the fact that I really like got into it, and you know, he encouraged me. Like he bought me my first laptop, like my piano, which I still have.
Right.
I still have my first piano, which was like one of the first ones that had the MIDI. So you can still use it today. Like any you could use it like a MIDI controller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's cool too. I think that's I like to point shit out. You know, whenever I'm having conversation, I think that certain things to me specifically kind of point out. So I think that's really cool too, that your dad, like, instead of like like you said, a lot of people would kind of like try to stop it, and so maybe he just kind of figured like, yo, at the end of the day, like, you're gonna do what you want to do, but if I could at least like guide it a little bit,
right,
then that, you know, so it doesn't go like straight into this like gangster blah blah blah. Like, if I could kind of guide it so that at least he's like producing it and not like trying to be out there in the streets and be about it, you know, like, you know, quote, I'm doing air quotes for those who are listening. You know, I think that's really cool, and that was like a smart tactic, you know, and then it created some, like, I'm sure it created some like closeness between you and him, you know, a little bit more at least.
Yeah, we've always been like really close. Like he's the main person that I look up to, just because their mentality, like he came from Mexico with nothing, you know, and he brought us, and he did a lot more than I feel like a lot of people in that situation would do. Like, they're homeowners, like they want to open up businesses, like, right. You know, it was he's somebody that I look up to a lot. So he guided me to that. He put me in that, and from there it was just, I've always been a hustler. So I just started like, okay, I like doing this, but how can I make some money out of it? You know. So then I just started selling beats to like the other local rappers, and then I would get some of the friends from high school and be like, yo, you guys want to like do some songs together? And then we just make a mixtape, and then we'll do like the hard copies and all that stuff and just sell them out. Like, I've never been scared to like go up to somebody and be like, oh, like, you want to buy this? Like, like, you know?
Yeah. I mean but it's funny, like, you just, like you said, that's the hustler mentality, you know? Like, I think that is definitely it, you know?
Yeah. So it was just from there, I graduated, and I kind of had nowhere to go. So I went to school my first year in college was for music. But I was like, I didn't know how to do that and make money out of it. So I was taking guitar lessons and piano lessons, and at the meantime I'm broke, you know. And what do you want to do when you're young? You like want to go out, take these girls out, and you know, have some money to spend, you know. I didn't even have a car. So I started my dad hooked me up with a pool business, but I hated it. And I had my pool business. I was going to college, but I didn't really know what I was doing or where I wanted to go. And out of nowhere, he was just like, well, you've always done music. Because at the same time, I was always doing music. So he's like, you know what would be a good way to make money with your music stuff? It would be, he would say, what about DJing? Like, you'll do, like, your cousins having a quinceañera, like, you know, your uncles will pay you, and then you could do, like, quinceañeras around the block. And I was like, okay. So I just picked up my first controller, and I just kind of started learning. And it was the same thing with, like, the music thing. Once I got introduced to it, it's, like, obsessive. Like, I would get obsessed. Like, all I would do is be on YouTube and look up, like, DJ Craze and A-Track and AM and just, like...
Was this an easy sell, too? Like, when your pops kind of told you about it, were you, like... Were you on the fence about it? Or right away you're like, sure, I'll try it? Like...
It was more like, I'll try it. Because I didn't know much about the culture or about DJing in general. Like, I kind of saw, like, it's kind of boring. Like, you're just mixing two songs together and, you know? But once I got into it, once I started seeing, like Craze and, like, the DMC battles and 3-Style, and I was like, yo, like, there's something dope about this. Like, it's not just mixing two songs. Like, people are actually doing something that's musical, that's more than just, you know, the typical blend, you know, beat match. And that's what I really got into. So I started once I really got into it, that's when I was like, okay, I need some turntables. You know, I need to get, like, on the real. Like,
what'd you start with?
I started with that, the Newmark one.
VCI?
No, because I wanted turntables, but I couldn't afford it. So there was one with the moving, I think it's like the NS7 that had the, like, moving platters that kind of gave you, like, that turntable feel.
I thought that was pretty decent. It was heavy though, or is heavy.
Yeah, it was heavy.
You know, like, for being a controller, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah, because it was all metal. I think it was like the outside was all metal.
Well, that and the fact that it has, because it has a motor in it, because those platters move, that's like the heavy part. That's why I think that's pretty much what makes a turntable heavy as well. Is like that motor and the whole, like, needing to fucking rotate. Yeah. You know?
And then I actually, one of the girls that I was dating knew the promoter, which is funny because I actually work for him now. Shout out to Mr. Miami.
Hey. Mr. 305?
Mr. 305. Yeah, he worked at, I don't know if you heard of Zelda's.
Yeah, I have.
That's one of the, like, was one of the biggest nightclubs out there because it was just, like, there forever.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard you talk about it, but I've heard about it for sure.
Zelda's?
Yeah.
Yeah. They recently just closed it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he used to be I don't know if he was the GM or he was, like, the main promoter.
Right.
But he would hire the DJs.
Okay.
So I went in there. She hooked me up with him, like, oh, like, my boyfriend's a DJ. He really wants to get into this. And I used to DJ at a hookah lounge. And it was, you know, I would just go and set up my controller, my NS7 and a couple speakers, and you were good, you know?
Yeah.
So once I went to that interview with Mr. Miami, he was like, okay, let me take you to the back room where we have a extra pair of turntables and a mixer, and we'll hook you up to the Serato and just show me what you got, you know? And I look like a fool just because I had never, like, worked on real, like, turntables.
Right.
So I didn't, like, I was looking hella stupid for my first time at one of the biggest nightclubs out there. And I remember they had some spare headphones. And I was so nervous, like, I put them on, but I, like, stretched them out too much that they snapped. And I was just so embarrassed. Like, I made such a fool of myself that first time. And I was like, this can never happen again.
Wait. Hey, I know this. Wait a minute, man. The story don't fucking stop there. So what happened? Did you fucking mix or what? Like,
no, I couldn't. Like,
what went down?
I was trying to, like, blend these two songs, and I was like, yo, how do you, like, slow this down because it's going too fast? And I think back then it was a Scratch Live, so it was a little different where it kind of took a while for the tempo to like match up, right?
Right.
You know. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and the NS7 was just like, it was easy, you know. It had that vinyl feel, but it still had that like controller like ease to it.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, because we didn't go too much in depth with that either, but like, as far as like, so you're all like YouTube pretty much taught, like that's how you learned, like, you know, dropping on the one and mixing and shit like that, beat matching.
Yeah, that's how I learned.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of hands-on, just trial and error, you know.
Yeah, and I think, well, I know it is now, but I don't remember. I mean, I guess the NS7 is not that old. That's like 2000. Oh, wait, I'm tripping. Like, I wanted to say 2010 or 2011, right? Like, I think that's when it kind of came out. Because I know that I got my VCI 2009, and that was kind of like one of their like top or cool mixers at that time, controller wise. But yeah, it's not that old. And what I was gonna say is that I know that with Serato now, when you use controllers, that BPM automatically adjusts as soon as you touch that pitch. Whereas if you use turntables, it doesn't recognize the pitch change until like the needle and the record are playing.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, with that scenario that you're talking about like it's kind of delayed, like, you know, if you're used to that controller and then you try to touch the pitch on a turntable and then you try to slow it down and it doesn't show right away,
right?
Then
and then like you would speed it up all the way and it would go crazy. So you're like, what the heck? And then you speed it down all the way and then it just, you know, I would never get to that point where it was like, oh, like with the controller you could get it like exact like 105.3, you know?
Oh yeah. And you're kind of stressing about that.
Yeah, so I couldn't like. Yeah.
So
that
how long do you think? So how long was your time from getting your controller to this point? Like, what's this time frame like? I'm curious.
What do you mean?
So like, you know, because pretty much what you're saying is that you weren't ready, and this is a point in your life where you're like, I'm not gonna let this happen to me again, right? So what was the time frame like beforehand? So let's just say like, you know, like you started in January and then you're given this opportunity in April. Let's just say for instance.
I say like it was 5 months into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that is even more pretty sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 months. I mean, and then, you know, you're thrown in front of, like you said, like the fucking hottest club's own nightclub manager or whatever.
Yeah. And I didn't want to be that guy to be like, oh, well, let me just bring my controller in and I'll show you what I really could do, you know? It's like, no, this is the house setup. Like, you need to know how to use this if you want to spin in you.
And that's good that you understood that, too, you know? Because a lot of people are like that. Especially, I don't want to say a lot of people, like, in today's generation, but just people in general. You know, a lot of people are so quick to that. But, like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how to use this, but let me just bring this in. It's like, dude, this is, like, state of the fucking art, you know? Like, you're not unplugging this shit, you know, and that's stuff that it's funny, but like that's the stuff that we tell the students too at like Scratch, you know, like, yo, like the whole Pioneer setup, you know, that's like a $6,000 setup, like, you know, the
CDJs?
900, the CDJs, and then you want to just bring this fucking little controller and put your shit on top of our shit,
right? And
then, you know, just, you know, like, oh, plug in like these two little RCAs, you know, when we have like this shit that's like top of the line,
right? Even the sound cards are trash on those little.
It's definitely way different. Yeah. Okay, so then this happens, and then what?
And I'm like, you know what? Like, this can't happen to me. I need to learn if I want to be in these clubs that how to work the equipment that's in the club. And I think that was the industry standard back then. It was like the turntables and the mixer and your Serato box.
For sure.
So I was like, okay, I need to get into that like ASAP. So I sold that controller and started investing in turntables. And at first it was the same thing. Like, it took me a while to even learn how to beat match on a turntable, you know?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure you remember your first time. It was just like it's a big learning curve.
For sure. Well, like, again, fortunately, I started at the school. So the school had very like structured things, and you know, they have it down to a fucking T, like a science. Like, hey, this if you learn this at this time and then this at this time, you'll get it by here, you know? So fortunately with the school, like I said, it was already like very like foundational like that. So I didn't have that much of a struggle, but I definitely, there definitely was like a difference between a controller and turntables for sure.
Yeah, so you got taught at the school?
Yeah, so I actually graduated from the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I graduated from the school first, and then I now work there. I've been working there for 3 years now, but I think that's a little bit more why, me working at the school. I think that I'm a little bit. I don't. I guess just a little. I feel like I'm a little bit more insightful because I was taught by the staff, and I know what pieces were missing when I was learning. So now when I teach those pieces. And I think it's like really easy for me to connect. Like when someone doesn't understand something, I think it's really easy for me to be like, what didn't I understand about this? And it's like, oh yeah, like I remember it's because maybe sometimes teachers, because if you've been doing it for so long, you kind of just like, it's just natural to you. But like if you told somebody and you haven't been teaching, you'd be like, oh, just get up there and mix 2 songs. And it's like, what? And then you gotta really like break it really down to like a microscopic level, so someone who's never like seen turntables, because we have a lot of students like that, and we have to break it down to like that like minimal level.
I think that's why I'm a horrible teacher. A lot of people ask me like, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Like even like scratches, like when I DJ with some other DJs, they'll be like, oh, teach me how to do that. I'm like, just go practice, dude. Like
what a dick.
Right?
Yeah. But like,
because that's how I learned. Everything that I learned was just like on my own. Like, okay, like how do you just looking it up on my own. So I don't have that formula where it's like I know how to teach somebody.
But I will say this, like, and if you're okay with that, you're definitely like, that's fine. But I will say this, that there's more money in it if you learn how to teach it. You get me?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a lot of things that even these older instructors that are breaking stuff down, that's what they realize. Like Qbert, for instance, he could do all that nerdy shit all day, and if he didn't break it down, he wouldn't be a dime richer. You know what I mean? But the fact that he does like these tutorial classes and all that stuff like that, like there's money in that, and that's why I've even heard like it's one thing if you can do, and it's a whole nother thing if you can teach.
Right.
So I mean, but like I said, it's like teaching that it isn't for everybody. Sometimes people don't have the patience for it or whatever. But that is something to think about or to consider. And like if you can really break things down and like that was one thing that was notable about all the instructors at Scratch, is that they could break things down to a T and really simplify it, and that's why it became easy to learn.
Right.
And because we've been in the game so long, I think if you really did take the time to like, well, how am I doing this? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm doing this first and then I do this, then you could break it down really easy, and then it would be easier to teach.
Right.
But like I think at first, if I just asked you like, hey, how do you do a fucking triple click flare? You'd be like, bro, go look that shit up. Like, go,
Yeah.
But, like, if someone hits you with like, hey man, I'll give you $100 for an hour lesson, you might be like,
okay, yeah.
All right, well, let me
figure this out.
Let me see what we got going here. Just something to think about though, for sure. Okay, so then you start diving in. You're watching like what, all these like YouTube videos of all the DJs and stuff, or what?
So that's the first thing that I wanted to do. Like once I knew how to beat match, it was like, okay, like now I wanna make routines. And I thought, just because I was so ignorant and I hadn't been anywhere besides, because I started at a hookah lounge, and it was the same, just like, how can I sell this? And it was just like this brand new hookah lounge, which is still there, called Blue Wave, had opened up, and I wasn't even 20. No, I was like 24, but I didn't like going to the clubs for some reason, because I think it's just because I didn't like drinking at the time. So my ex-girlfriend invited me to that place. She's like, oh, well, we won't drink, we'll just go and smoke and just hang out. Like I didn't even know what hookah was. It was just like, oh, it's like flavored tobacco. And I was like, all right. So then I go over there. They were just opening up, and I saw that they didn't have a DJ, and this was like when I was starting up.
Right.
So it's like, hey, you guys would want a DJ? Like, I got speakers, I got this, I got that, and that's where I started. Yeah. So that was my first time going into it, and then I was like, okay, like I started really. Once I started there, I started really looking up the like, how can I make this better? How can I really expand this business that I want to start? And And that's when I started diving into like the DMCs and like the three styles, and I was like, oh, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do at the clubs, you know. So that's kind of how I started my like little DJ venture, where it was just like, I want to scratch and I want to do this and I want to do that. But obviously, like, you know, it takes a long time to ever get anything near that. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's tight, man. I really like to hear all that. And you know, I always say this, but I love hearing everybody's like origin stories, you know, because I didn't know that you had only been DJing for that short of a time. I mean, because honestly, just being like frank, I guess I just think highly of you, and I think highly of your skill. So I didn't think that, you know, if you see somebody that you went out and you seen somebody that was real like dope and, you know, technical, you would probably assume that they've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I naturally just gave you that credit because, like, for sure, man, like, you definitely, like, bring it. And I remember, like, you know, we met at the Do-Over, right? Yeah. So I know I think I have a couple homies that I've said on here that I've met at the Do-Over. As a matter of fact, episode 1 that we're talking about, Chad, is where I met him at the Do-Over. But yeah, we met at the Do-Over, and then, you know, I don't know. I mean, I probably did like the whole, like, you know, check the IG. Like, after I met you, like, I know we follow each other on IG, so I probably checked like your videos, and I was like, oh shit, like, this guy's like legit, you know, because I think, especially at the Do-Over, there's a lot of guys that you meet there that claim to be DJs. I'm doing air quotes here, but claim to be DJs, but, you know, they don't practice so much, at least what they're preaching, you know, like, hey, like, a lot of times they'll introduce themselves as DJs, and then, like, when I look them up or, like, kind of see how active they are, it's, like, non-existent. You know, so it was nice to see that you really were, like, about what you were saying. You know, and then I got to go DJ at the spot out there. And I seen you, you know, do all that stuff live in person. So it was like perfect, you know. I think a lot of part that I talk about is that I get disappointed. I don't know, maybe this is my own fault or whatever, but I get disappointed sometimes when I see DJs doing really cool shit on videos, and then they advertise like, hey, I'm gonna be in the area, you know, come check me out. So what do? I go check them out,
right?
And then they do like A and B mixing all night, and I'm just like, bro, like, you over here fucking doing some 3-style shit on your video, like it's a 1-minute clip, but you didn't do that like the entire set. You didn't do nothing.
I got a question for you. I think you go out a lot more than I do. Do you find it annoying sometimes when DJs are doing too much?
Let me think. I mean, I guess I do, but I don't see a lot of DJs doing that much, to be real. And the ones that I think that are the only time it really stands out when they're air quotes doing too much is just when they're doing stuff that is just like redundant, like stuff that they've already done. So for instance, I've seen people abuse like the roll. You know, like the roll on the mixer, like when it's like it does like one beat, then it does like a half beat, then like a quarter. You know, like I've seen people abuse that. You know, and that's annoying. But I've never seen anybody get up there and just start fucking like DMCing, you know, like just start fucking going crazy. And the ones that I have seen do something like that, it's because it's like it's a party like that advocates stuff like that. So for instance, like I've seen Scratch Bastard when he's done a lot, you know, and for those of you who don't know, he's a huge DJ, very heavy turntablist. He does a lot of tricks and a lot of scratches. So I've seen him at the Do-Over. Matter of fact, I seen it. Well, actually, last year at the Boo-Over, I seen him, and yeah, I mean, he did his regular set, but at one point, probably for at least like a good I'd say for like maybe 5 minutes, he was kind of just like going the fuck in, and he was just like cutting and just like.
Yeah, but he's somebody that like he's got the skill to like go off.
So well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's if it's the party and that's like the atmosphere, like I don't see anything wrong with it. But I have yet to ever be somewhere where like they were doing like they weren't like maybe notable and they were just fucking going crazy like with the skills. I I really haven't seen that. My biggest gripe, and I think I've talked about this before. My biggest gripe is one time I've seen. I talked about it with my friend Clash, but the big one that I noticed that really bothered me was I seen a DJ that was, because I love to dance, bro. Mm-hmm. So this guy really kind of irked me. He was mixing like the chorus of every song like back to back for like his entire for at least his initial like 15 minutes of his set. Like he had like an hour set. The first 15 minutes it was like chorus. There's
like not one verse,
no verses, just like, and it's like quick mixing. Like this is the chorus and this is the chorus and this is the chorus, and I was like, fuck, man, like I'm not,
you couldn't get a vibe, you couldn't dance.
And dude, okay, so it's so funny that you just said that, because I was kind of stressing and I had to like contain myself, right? I was kind of stressing, and I'm chilling with my other friend, and then like this random dude comes out of nowhere. He's like, hey bro, what's good? He's like, is that your boy? I was like, oh well, like I know him. Like I'm not gonna say like we're fucking daps, like we're homies. Right. But anyways, I was like, yeah, I mean I know him. What's up? And he's like, hey dog, like I respect DJing and all that shit, but hey man, like I'm just trying to catch a vibe out here, dog. Like, can you tell this guy to like slow down a little bit? Like legit, like verbatim, this is what he said, and I started laughing. I was like, hey bro, like I feel you. I feel you on that, like 100%. I mean, that's like the worst thing that has happened to me out when I was out is just that, like that, like just mixing like that, like, and I get. This is like a bigger conversation I haven't had on this show, but definitely one to be talked about. But I feel like there's so many fucking avenues for DJs. It's beautiful. It really is a beautiful thing, especially like teaching at this school where if you're not secure with yourself, then that could be like a conflict. You know what I mean? Like I'm teaching people how to do my job, essentially.
Right.
But
so you're talking about like somebody could come up and steal your.
If I was insecure like that, right. Then yeah, like I couldn't fathom teaching someone, because right. I'm like, fuck that. Like this person could take my job. Like I'm not gonna teach someone how to do my job. Right. Someone could think like that, but I don't think like that at all. And I think a part of this, and like that's what I'm saying, like this bigger picture of it, is that there's so many fucking avenues for DJing that it's really not that serious. Like there's fucking tour DJs, there's club DJs, there's wedding DJs, there's like hookah lounge DJs. That do only hookah lounge. There's like beach party DJs, there's pool party DJs. Like there's a DJ like in all these different realms. And I mean, yeah, like you can kind of cross. Like I could do a wedding, and like I did 2 weddings last weekend, and then this Saturday I'm gonna be fucking kicking in Palm Springs with you. Doing a club bar, whatever. But like, understanding that is a big thing. I think it'll help with anyone who ever feels like some type of way, like, or some type of like insecurity, that there's all these different avenues to DJing. Right. And I think that's also why I really like the show, because everybody kind of shows what like their avenue is, And go ahead.
I feel like if you really dive into it, and I feel like there's not a lot of talent anymore. I feel like a lot of people just doing the same stuff, or like they get too stuck in one thing. Say like you're a EDM and only EDM, and that's all you'll ever play, and So I think if you really like the music, you really like DJing, I feel like you should to go with that same thing. It's just like your avenues can open up even greater, just expanding your horizon in general. So. Yeah, like if you're going to be playing a wedding, you can't be like, well, I'm an EDM DJ, so, I'm not going to do that, So I feel like if somebody really goes in with that right mindset, like it's so much, we need that so much right now.
Yeah. I will say this, it's like, again, it's a huge topic to tackle, but even like, I mean, ultimately too, there's a big part of it is like, what do you want to do? I mean, like I get it. Like some students at the school, a lot of them will come in and they're like, oh, I only want to do EDM. Like they really do. But we teach them like how to do weddings and how to do all this stuff. And I think a big part of this and I just had this conversation with somebody, but not on the actual podcast, so it's nice to get it out. But I think another part of that is the fact that, like, if you're open to things, then you can get the bag, and then that bag can fuel your dream. You know what I mean? So like, a lot of people don't understand that, and so some people like will look down on a 9 to 5, you know. And I mean, I guess it is a double-edged sword. So like, if you have the discipline to do your 9 to 5, and then after that, you're working on what you actually want to do, and that money is just like adding security and letting you like fund your dream. Like, you know, all this podcast shit, like, this costs money. You know what I mean? So like, if I wasn't making money, then I couldn't do this. I couldn't have like the creative like avenue to do this. I like, if I'm short of money, then I could barely, like, all I could think about is probably like, do I have a roof over my head? Do I have food? You know, like, I'm thinking about essentials. But once you have like money to kind of play with, and it's like, you know what, I could do a podcast, or maybe I could do like a clothing brand, you know what I mean? And that's, I mean, and that's kind of like, you have to know yourself. So I think that part is like, if you know that you have the discipline to do like both, then do that. You know, I highly encourage that. But some people are on the other side of that spectrum, where it's like, if they feel like they have security, then they get lazy. You know what I mean? So some people need that, like, fuck, I don't know how I'm gonna get fed, you know, this weekend. Like, I gotta find a fucking gig. You know, some people need that. And so like, I think that's like, you know, making sure that you understand like how you operate, that'll really like fine tune that like whole drive of it, you know?
I think that's what's been messing with. I just feel like that's exactly how you said, like, that security, like, it fucks with you because you get lazy. And I think that's the one thing I hate about my situation right now, because I'm so comfortable over there. And it's such a small city that is, like, in my 5 years, I've already kind of like done everything there. Like, I've DJ'd almost everywhere. Right. Like, besides like, say like 3, 4, or 5 spots, you know?
Right.
So the fact that I could get these places to book me on a weekly basis, I think it stops me from, you know, coming out here. Like, my boy's been trying to get me to go to Nashville. I don't know if you've been to Nashville, like the downtown. Bro, it's lit.
I hear, yeah.
It's super lit. Like, there's so many people, so many tourists, and like so many bars and clubs that it's like somebody in our caliber like would go over there and just like, you know, it'll never end, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what stops me from actually doing that. Just having this like stability where it's like, well, I'm here, I make my money every week, and you know what, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go to that other bar, you know? And yeah, security is a motherfucker. Like, you need to get rid of that.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, it definitely depends on the person, you know, and that's why it kind of boils down a lot to like you really knowing yourself. Like, if you know that, like, oh, I fucking get lazy, insecurity, you know, then that's, you know, something that needs to happen. And then if not, then, you know, because like I know, like, for instance, my homie that I'm gonna have on the show probably like in January, but my homie Remy Hart Music, he works like a regular 9 to 5, bro, but every day, bro, like, I think he fucking works on producing like 2 hours a day. So as soon as he clocks out, like, he goes home and he fucking does that, you know, and that works for him, you know. And I think like I don't know, like, I'll have to talk to him a little bit more in depth, but I think maybe like he is one of those people where like he likes that comfort of having security, and that allows him
to do more,
to do his creative stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know, because some people, like I said, that'll be like a hindrance, because they, like, you know, some maybe just depend on the person, but they might stress about that too much. You know, like they're stressing about like, how am I going to get paid, and how am I, you know, where it's like so much stress where they can't even think about doing something creative. You know, so that's why I said it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I think it stops me from really doing more. And that's why, like, if you see like my Instagram doesn't have like a lot of like routines, or, you know, and I do that, I practice like almost every day. Like, I have so much shit that I do that I could be posting, right? But it's kind of like, for what? You know? Yeah. Like, I'm good here, like, and I hate that about myself. I really hate that.
And I you know, another thing about that, like, you're talking about, like, I don't know, you're saying, I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much you said like that there's like a shortage of talent, right? Is that kind of what you said, or what did you? Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I think it comes from that too, where a lot of people don't have the drive, or they don't, they get that security, and it's just like, okay, well, why do I need to get better, or why,
I think I don't think so much that there's not a lot of talent, especially since I've been doing this show. I think if I did, matter of fact, it has to like align with that mentality, right? Because if I didn't think that there was a lot of talent, then I probably wouldn't have created this show.
Right.
So the whole purpose of this show is to like elevate someone who I think is very talented, and like kind of put them out there so that other people can also like co-sign, like, yeah, that person is pretty fucking good. Like, why have I never heard of them?
Well, maybe then it's just like in my city then.
Well,
because it's so small.
Well, I'm saying that. So that's what I think, and that's what I have to think, right? But I will say this: I feel like the people that are talented are not, and like I said, it's funny how it kind of like aligns perfectly with this show. So I do feel like the people that are talented are not put on that platform. So I think that a lot of people that are getting gigs are like should not be there. And I'll straight up say that, like, I think that that's happening a lot. Like, right. A lot of people that are in certain places or are at certain clubs or on certain like lineups, like I could almost guarantee that there's someone way more qualified than that person on that list. So that is the part that like I have definitely like recognized. I can't say that I figured out the solution to that, but I mean, one big solution that I have been trying to practice even is that whole notion of like creating your own event, trying to do something on your own or like with a team, so that you're your own boss and you pick what the fuck goes down, and you got no one to blame but yourself as far as like who's on the lineup and shit. I think that because there's a lot of stuff that, especially in LA, there's a lot of parties that go down, and it's kind of like that, but again, like, I think that a big part of it is like the talent. Like, the talent's missing from a lot of these parties that are like kind of self-made. I don't think that, and and like who's to blame for that? Is it that, like, are we to be mad at these people because they don't have skill but yet they're starting up these parties? Like, no, I don't get mad at that. Especially since it's like it's kind of up to your own responsibility. Like, well, if you think that, then why don't you do something about it? Like, that's how I feel about it. It's like I definitely don't dwell on any of that. Like, I'm not sitting in my room like, man, fuck these people. Like, I'm tight, I'm tight, but they don't see that and they don't put me on. Like, I don't think that at all. It's like I said, like, the solution to that for me is just like, we'll do something about it. So like this year I was supposed to start my own day party and I dropped the ball, like, straight up. I dropped the ball. So next year I want to start up my own party. And then again, it's like the same thing. It's like, I have no one to be mad at it about, like, other than myself, so if I don't get it off the ground going and I don't like create the fucking like atmosphere that I want, it's all on me. You know what I mean? So right. And I can't bitch about it, like, and say, because like some people be like, man, I don't have nothing to do this weekend. It's like, well, if you would have fucking created that vibe that you wanted to, you'd have something to do, or you'd have something to look forward to. So I think that that's how I feel about all that. I think, like I said, I think that there is a lot of good people out there, just not like put on the platform or like elevated as much as they should be. And some of that could be in part to the person. Like, someone could be super dope, but maybe all they do is hang out in their bedroom. So like, if you just hang out in your bedroom, like, no one's ever gonna know that you're out there. Like, you can't get mad at people for something that you're not doing.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're putting in that work, but like, just like you're putting in that work, you got to put in the work in other things too, like getting out there, meeting people, going out, like taking risks, like doing all that stuff. You know what I mean? Or else you're just gonna be like salty in your room.
So I'm gonna take it back.
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of talent, but I think in my city, for example, like this Saturday, right? You're gonna be with me, right? So they give me my own day. So this bar, it's like bar/club type of thing. So they give me my day. So they're like, okay, what day do you want? Okay, you want a Saturday? Okay, it's your party. This is your event. So you bring whoever you want. You know, this is how we're gonna pay you, and you could distribute that however you want. You know, it's your own thing. So they basically give you like, here's our spot,
like full control.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, who do I want?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna be like up to par to what I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And out there, I feel like I was limited.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other examples where there was this other bar that wanted me on Saturdays, and I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, can you recommend somebody? And it was like, there wasn't a lot of people that I could be like, okay, like, I'm going to put you out there. So that's my name, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want that reputation. It was like, oh, you send me this, you know, he fucked the whole vibe up or whatever. And there's definitely talent. And what I wanted to say was just like more well-rounded talent where it's like I was saying, like, you're not just EDM DJ, because then I can't book you at this like Mexican bar then, or you know, they're gonna want some Latin, you know, they're gonna want hip hop, they're gonna want this, they're gonna want that. And that's the issue that I come across over there a lot, where it's like I'm throwing my own events, and I was like, damn, like, who am I gonna hit up? You know, like, I know like 3 people that I feel like they're dope, and that I want to have them by my side, because you know, that's your image too, you know. If you're throwing a party and you throw on a whack DJ, you know,
for sure,
like, are people gonna want to come back to that?
For sure.
Like, no, this dude was doing train wrecks all night. Like, why would I want to? You know, that's that vibe. That's your vibe. No, like, you don't want that. So, yeah, I would want to see more people like invest more in all of what is being a DJ. That way, you know, when we throw our parties, we could be like, okay, like, here's our roster. Like, these are all the dope DJs in this area. And I feel like over there, it's like, it's such a minimal list where I had to reach out to, like, I reached out to Trendy. I was like, yo, what are you doing this Saturday? I got this spot. And he was booked. Yeah. You know? And then I was like, all right, I'm going to hit up Wally, you know? Yeah. And it was just like, from there, like, I kind of didn't know where to go. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to be here by myself tonight. Yeah. You know, and that's good that you're putting out more talent out there. And because you're right, like, a lot of these people don't have the light to where it's like, okay, people don't know about them, but they're dope. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that was exact the exact case with Trendy. You know, it's funny that we bring him up because, I had him recently. And same thing, like, I don't know, I followed him on Instagram for whatever reason. And, you know, I liked his content, but, like, I didn't really have any type of idea, like, how good he was, you know? And then I had him here, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, he's super dope. Homie came, like, with it full, you know?
Did he use that mixer?
I don't remember if he did. It's on the video. Oh, no. We had to do a reshoot, because I think he did, but he didn't record or something. And then he ended up having to do it at his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then he used his. So I don't know if originally he probably did use his S9. But yeah, we had to do a reshoot because I think he forgot to record or something. Something happened.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, super clean, super crispy, you know. But yeah, like, what was I saying about him? Oh yeah, just the fact that, yeah, like, he is dope, and you know, the whole, like, that whole notion of being well-rounded will definitely get you a lot, you know, more places for sure. And that's also, you know, falling back to the whole, like, scratch topic. It's like, that's why we do that, you know, like, why we teach DJs at our school to do kind of like as much as you can, because you can get money, you know. And again, like, that can fuel whatever you want to do, because, like, once you have that notable image, then you can literally do whatever you want for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do a wedding if you don't want to. You know, like, you have one gig a month, and that's the way you like it, and then the rest of the time you just get to practice, or however you like it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, definitely, like, if you set yourself up right, then there's a lot of money that can be made, you know? So, like, even if your, like, content's right, then someone could jump on, like, for a sponsor, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. But I get that. And so that I think that's a good segue to So I was telling everybody that you kind of do run shit down there. So so like, let's talk about how many spots, how many spots are you at a week, and like, what spots are they, and then let's dive into that whole thing.
I want to go back to something just because I feel like I sounded like a dick. There's talent in my area, but the ones that I wanted to hit up this Saturday, I know y'all were booked, so yeah, I didn't want people mad at me like, oh, he doesn't think shit about us. No, like the ones that are good out there, like they're always booked too. It's like me, like you can't really like find me like off because it's just like we stay booked.
Yeah,
but I just wish there was more.
Yeah.
So out there, I have 3 going on 4 residencies. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have a Tuesday night, which is BART, which is where we're gonna be at.
Right.
That's every Tuesday, and then I have Wednesdays at Copa Nightclub. Mm-hmm. Then I have I still have Toucans. That's the other place that you
played at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one could be Hair of the Dog. I don't know. That's up in the air right now.
Yeah. Pending.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at mainly, and then they'll book me at little bars here and there, like on my days off.
And when you got into these places, how did that go about? Like, did you get introduced, or did you make it a point like that you wanted to play there specifically? I mean, I'm sure every like spot has like an individual story, but like if you could shed some light on that.
Say that again.
So like pretty much the spots that you're at, right? Did they like contact you, or did you fucking go in there and like kind of like, hey, like how do I get booked here? Like how did you go about doing that? Because I'd like to shed some light on that stuff, because some DJs are just starting out and they would like to be into some spots, or maybe for instance, like you saw that hookah lounge as an opportunity, like it didn't have a DJ, you offered your services, and now like like you do that on a regular, right? So I kind of like to shed some light on that whole thing, because a lot of my students that listen to the podcast, they don't know how to go about getting gigs. So I like to shed light on like on that in any way possible.
So my first gig, like I told you, the hookah lounge was where I put myself out there. Mm-hmm. And I asked them like, hey, you guys should have a DJ here.
Yeah.
And from then on, I think it's just a lot of connections where I would meet people. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I'm a bartender at Toucans. Like maybe I'll hook you up with the general manager, and I'll tell them that you're dope, because they would come and see me. So I think the best advice is just be active. Mm-hmm. on whatever it is. Like say you don't have a residency, like be active on social media, or be active where you're out and you're being seen. Mm-hmm. I think that's what helped me out a lot. And just because I'm in a small area, that there was just like I didn't have to like my sound wave didn't have to go so far,
right,
where it would be like I would be at one spot and then somebody would see me and they'd be like, oh, he's dope, like maybe I could hook him up with this, because I work at this spot. So a lot of it's been like that, where it's like people that see me and they think, oh, X is dope, like I'm gonna tell the people that I know over here about him, and and then they'll eventually like somebody will contact me. Mm-hmm. So that's how it has been a lot of my career, and I think that's why I haven't expanded so much, because it's just like if you don't hear me or see me, like you kind of don't know about me. Mm-hmm. So it's just about it was kind of like a spider web, where it was just like it went from one to the other. Yeah, but it was mainly just word of mouth and people just going out and seeing me and being like, oh, this guy's dope, like.
And it's that whole like that I tell people, and it's you definitely like your first story relates to this whole thing. It's like that whole notion of making sure that you're prepared for the opportunity when it's presented to you. Mm-hmm. So like just like you said, like when you were given the Zelda's one, like you weren't ready, plain and simple. And that's okay. Like we're not always ready for something that's given, it's in the air or like right in front of us, and sometimes you do have to say no to that. And I think that's huge about like knowing if you could, if you are like, if you're at least like ready enough, what I mean? Like for instance, like I want to play at the Do Over, but I never think that I'm ready enough because they've had fucking Scratch Bastard there. They've had Jazzy Jeff there. I mean, so in my standard, like, I'm not ready enough. But, if they said, like, hey, like, we want to put you on next summer, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, like, let's do it. In my head, I'm like, fuck, but it's like, I definitely, can I make 2 songs? Can I cut a little bit? Can I play a good set? Like, yeah, that's cool. That's what you need. You know what I mean? Like, ideally, in my head, I would want to be Jazzy. I'd want to be Scratch, but I'm not. So, like, what am I going to do? Am I just not going to do it because of that? Like, no, I'm going to still do it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
And, like, sometimes it's just that trial and error, And, yeah, that's a good point where you should be well-rounded with, even, like with that mixer, like, I was having problems with it, but I wasn't going to tell you, like, hey, like, you know what, I'll just record one at home and I'll send it to you, put it up. And, that, I feel like that wouldn't be cool. Like, I like to push myself out of my comfort zone, because if not, like, going back to it, I will stay in the same hole and I won't grow from that. So the more that I could push myself out of that realm of comfort is the best thing for me.
So that's awesome. And what is the part that's, like, stopping you from doing the Austin thing?
The Nashville?
Or Nashville thing, sorry.
Yeah. I think it's just that comfort. I think I'm going to go over there and I know, like, 1 or 2 people, and then I'm going to get scared, where it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this, And it's going to be a great learning curve, because then if I could take that, I could do it anywhere, I could go to LA and do the same thing. I could go, bounce to whatever city, and, it grows you more. But yeah, I think it's just that comfort where it's like, okay, like, if I go over there and I'm not getting gigs, like, how am I going to survive, How am I going to live? Where am I going to live?
Oh, so they actually want you to move out there?
Yeah, they want me to move out there.
Oh, I thought you were, like, going to go, like, just fucking, like, gig swap or something.
No. My buddy, he works in, like, he does, like, the credit card things, where, like, people come and install the little things so you could, the chip, Yeah. So that's what he does. So he knows people out there, and he's obviously, like, out in the, out bars and, like, restaurants and stuff, but he wouldn't have the say to be like, oh, book this DJ, you know? Like, how would you know he's any good?
And what about, like, I'm just, brainstorming out loud here, but what about, like, have you tried, like, reaching out to people out there and tried, like, tried that either the gig swapping thing, or just, like, like, just going out there, checking out the scene and seeing, like, if that's something that you could see yourself doing? Have you tried?
Yeah, I've checked it out. I've been there. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, like, it's a lot of bars and a lot of clubs. But I just don't know anybody there to even be able to, like, gig swap or anything like that. Like, I'm telling you, like, I think that's what scares me, is, like, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah.
I would just go over there, like, basically, like, naked,
Well, okay, so, and I'm going to tell you, just because I listen to a lot of shit, so from what I would say, and again, like, this is just because I listen to a lot of shit. I've never actually done that myself. But if I was in your shoes, I'd say, like, if you could, if you either the spots that you went to that you remember, or do it again, go out there again, and then visit these spots, and then any of these spots that you find interest in, find out who plays there, and then like, then do that reach out, like, hey man, like, I know you play over here on Fridays, like, how would you like to come out to Palm Springs, and try out my spot or whatever, like, I think that's a big, like, understanding that I've kind of heard from, like, a lot of DJ podcasts that I listen to. It's like a common thing that'll happen. Like, because the same, there's a lot of DJs that are in the same boat, like, that they're in New York but they want to play in Cali, or they're in Cali, they want to play in Florida. So It's like, how do they do that? It's like, either they know someone, a DJ that's over there that can, like, plug them in, or if not, then they got to go out there, check out the spots that they would want to be at, get familiar with who's where, and then just test it out. And then I think that would be the start of it. I think from your standpoint, like, picking up and going, that's a big leap. That's a fucking, like that's scary. That definitely, that scares me,
Yeah.
that would scare me for sure. But I think if, you did those initial steps, that might ease it a little bit more. Like, you know what? Fuck yeah. Like I got real close with so-and-so, they would gladly have me on like a Friday, Saturday, and then it's like, then you really start to weigh it. Like, is the money like that much worth it where I would want to go and it makes sense for me to get out of like Palm Springs? And then you would weigh those options, like, especially since, for instance, next year I'm gonna go to Miami. I really want to go to Miami, and that's because I hear really good things about the music scene. And it's not so much like a money thing. It's just like, I love LA, but I don't think that there's not a lot of true open format places out here in LA. I truly feel like that. I feel like a lot of places that claim to be open format are like reggaeton or hip hop. That's what they deem as open format.
Right.
Like I don't hear a lot of places like playing like reggae and like doing some old school or like some funk and then doing some house and then doing like hip hop. Like I don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Excuse the drill saw.
Dude, is there a lot of places here? I don't know if you've been out to like a lot of the bars or clubs out here where they tell you what to play.
Like specifically?
Yeah, where it's like, okay, this is this type of bar and you can only go from there.
I don't to be honest, I don't play a lot out in LA that much, but what I hear, I don't hear that too often, other than like, if it's like a specific type of night, that's what you're like, you're supposed to stick to. That's about it. But I think that, like I said, I don't think that there's a lot of spots that are that open format. So it's all very kind of structured, or, like, so if for instance, like my homie plays at the Reserve and they have like hip hop, there's a hip hop room and there's a reggaeton room.
But so say, like, what if the DJ was to be like, okay, like I'm gonna mix it up today? Would they tell him shit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like there's structure, like it's already structured. So I think that, if you went too far off, then people are just not gonna fuck with you. Then that's gonna look bad. Like the bars
gonna
empty
the room.
Yeah, no, dead ass. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that like, I don't think that there's not a lot of places that are truly open format in LA. I don't think so. Like that's how I feel, at least. It's all very structured. Like this is all like R&B tonight, or this is all like reggaeton versus hip hop tonight. Like it's very much like that. And so because of the fact that the clubs in Miami are open from like 6 p.m. to like 6 a.m.
Yeah, you could really go wherever you want from there, huh?
I would hope so.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to hear the same shit all
day.
Day.
I can't say that that's factual, but I would definitely hope fucking so, right? Like, right. Like, dude, a 12-hour gig, like, yeah, you better be like reaching like deep into these crates and like playing some shit, and you really gotta like weave, and you really gotta manage your time. And so that really like, that kind of really calls to me, like I really am curious if it's like that. Now if I go and every 2 hours I'm hearing fucking I Like It by Cardi B every 2 hours, like on the fucking on rotation, then that's gonna definitely put a sour taste in my mouth and be like, this isn't what I thought it was. But if I do go, and like I said, like the spots are really like, maybe if Cardi plays every like 4 hours, that wouldn't be detrimental to me. But I mean, that would go to show that at least like, like the DJs are kind of aware, and they're like trying to keep shit like moving, rather than like playing this shit every hour, something like that, So that really interests me, and that actually does kind of tie in back to like the whole like, there's an avenue for every DJ, and I think a lot of it has to do with making sure that you're happy in whichever lane that you do choose, So I won't talk about it too much because I won't have a episode with him. But do you know Devin Hype? You know him?
I follow him on Instagram.
He's lighter shaded brown
I don't.
DJ. Yeah, so he and I talk a cool thing that he brings to the table that I want to have him on here as well and talk about it more in depth. But I had a little conversation with him, and he told me that he really loves doing like the tour DJ thing. Like he tours with Lighter Shade of Brown, and specifically the reason that he likes to do that is because every once in a while they'll give him like a 3-minute solo or something like that, and he loves like the spotlight.
Yeah,
because he feels like the DJs in the club, they don't get recognition, you know, or at least they don't get a spotlight like that.
Right.
You know, they don't get like a 3-minute solo where like, hey, yo, fucking just fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to keep the party moving.
Right.
But because that's kind of like he really works on like that whole craft of like turntablism, he likes that. Like not only like does he get to showcase himself, but yo, like the people that brought me here like fuck with it too. Like Lighter Shade of Brown is like, yo, DJ, like run that shit, and then he fucking just starts going, and then he kind of knows how it goes. So then once he's done, goes back to the music, you know. But it's cool, like I said, like that's like an avenue that stands out to him, you know.
I would feel like there's a lot of that. There would be a lot of that here.
Oh, hold up, cut that out.
Is that birds?
Yeah, whole fucking flock. All right.
Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You said I feel like there's a lot of.
Oh, I feel like there would be a lot of that open format here in LA.
Oh yeah.
But you said there isn't?
I mean, there's a lot of places that claim that, but I don't think of it as like sincere.
But would that be the DJ's fault or the crowd's fault, or?
Yeah, it's both.
Because the crowd comes in there and they're demanding this, and the DJ falls into that category.
Yes. The big part is that, yeah, like the crowd, they don't. Yeah, I like I said, I think it's both, and it's like I don't know which part is first. It's like the chicken or the egg type of thing. I think, you know, it's like it's kind of shame on the DJ for not like trying shit, and then it's shame on the people for not being open to shit.
Right.
I think that's big, and then like I said, it's like a party will claim to be open format, but they'll only kind of do that. Like they'll only do reggaeton and hip hop, or like, you know, maybe mix in a little bit of EDM. Like it's very rare where it would be like true like open format. Like, yo, if we went into some old school right now, like nobody's gonna give a fuck. Like no, like.
So let me ask you, if you were to have a spot at one of those places, would you do that?
If I had a spot where?
Like at one of those places where it's like you feel like the DJ's not going out of their, you know.
Oh, if I had my own night?
Yeah.
If I had my own night,
would you feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, like I'm gonna do some weird shit right now that they're not gonna be expecting?
I would.
Or would you cave into that crowd where it's like, nope, you better play that my type next?
If the crowd is like I said, if it's advertised as an open format spot, then yeah, like I'm gonna sprinkle in some shit, and then if anyone ever came up, I'd be like, yo, it's like it's open format. Like as long as ultimately it's like, are the people having fun, you know? And if so, then yeah, like this is the format of the night. Like I'm not gonna play. And I usually do that. I think that is something specific about me that I usually do too. Like when I do like high schools and shit, I usually do that kind of like I do my own personal PSA. I'm like, yo, what's up, everybody? My name is DJ Wally. I hope you guys are here, ready to have a great time. I like to play everything tonight, guys. So you guys are gonna hear a little bit of R&B, reggaeton, hip hop, reggae. Like, let's do it. All right, let's fucking party. You know, I'll do something like that where I tell people like, pretty much that's my PSA. Like, don't fucking come at me when I start playing R&B because I told you I was gonna play some R&B. Like that's my way of doing it. I really do like do that, you know. And I don't know, for the most part, I think that that's really like benefited me. And I think that when I do that, I think, like I said, it is my PSA. It's like a disclaimer. So when people get kind of mad, it's like, well, he did play he just played 30 minutes of hip hop. So if he starts playing some Spanish stuff, like I can't really be mad. Like my Spanish homies are over there dancing. Like, you know, like let them dance too.
Right.
You know, I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt, but I really do feel like that. Like that me doing that, it kind of gives people a little bit more tolerance. Like, oh yeah, like it's not just me tonight. There's more people here.
Right. I feel like recently when I started, I felt like it was a lot more open than it is now. I feel like now the bars and the clubs want like that structure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I don't know if you remember when we were at Toucans. We were kind of doing whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, just keep the people here
For
buying
sure.
drinks, and we're cool. But now they sold it, and the new owners want it all pop all night.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not so long ago I got requested reggaeton, and I'm used to going everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go EDM and this and this and that. Like, I don't want to stay stuck on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever the I feel like is gonna get a rise from these people and keep them here and keep them interested. Everybody, because we get so many tourists all the time, and then there's the locals, and so I feel like we have a very mixed crowd where you could do that type
Right.
of shit. But I remember not so long ago, the owner came in, and I think I was playing like some cumbia or like some reggaeton, and he got so mad.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "What is he doing? This is not that type of club."
Mm-hmm.
I told him that it's a pop night, and it needs to stay pop all night.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like like before it was never that. And even at the pool parties, like my boys were telling me like, "Oh, we want to do just house
Mm-hmm.
all day," and like the people would go and they'll be like requesting like hip hop, and like they're like, "No, we want to keep it house."
Yeah.
Like, and before I feel like I would just go in there and I would kind of do whatever,
Yeah.
and it'd be okay.
Yeah.
Like, nobody would tell you anything. Like, as long as like, is that like a new thing now where like all these clubs like want like a reggaeton night, or they want like this vibe only? And
Well, I mean, like I said, LA has that. I think it's definitely a good question. So I try to do a theme party, and I think like, again, it's like it's a balance thing. So if went back to that question about like, if it was a theme night, like let's say it was a pop night, right? And that's what we're supposed to play, then I would play pop. That's the format, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in part of that is because I think given the person, whoever you're talking to, whatever, I think some of that comes from like, if you keep this consistency, then people will know it as that, and people like consistency. So it's like, oh, have you been over there on a Tuesday? Like, it's all pop. It's pretty great, But it's a mixed message if you go and then you play like some reggaeton one night, and then it's like, I don't know about that spot. Like, they were playing pop, but then it started going to cumbia, and like, I don't know, it didn't align with like what was supposed to be played.
Right.
So there's that. Like, some people want to maintain that. Like, if it's a house, like, like for me, I think the important part of that is that maybe like a lot of these unique parties that are like themed are doing that so that they can stand out amongst these like open format spots. Because sometimes the DJs at the open formats are either like, for one, maybe they're not playing enough of that, or maybe they just specifically like, they just really like feel like dancing to some reggaeton like on a Friday night. It's like, Saturday night I'm gonna do the regular club, but Friday I'm gonna get my fucking salsa on or whatever, and so if you keep that consistency, then it's like, at least like it gets known as that,
right?
You know what I mean? Whereas if you start to mix, then it gets muddled, and it's like, it doesn't make it like exclusive like it claims to be. But yeah, I definitely, I've had that conversation with somebody, my instructor, because he kind of got mad at me because I was telling him, I was like, I had that same kind of situation happen. So I was doing this spot in Pasadena, and they already have a couple established clubs and bars there, right? And those clubs do open format. They do open format all night, right? So me and my homie were trying to start our own night, and so we're like, all right, fuck it, let's just do open format. And nobody was coming to our spot, other than our homies. So we're kind of like, let me wait for this song. Yeah, so nobody was coming to our spot other than our homies. And that's when we kind of really started to hit like the drawing board, like what's going on? Like, why is this not working, right? And I think what we had concluded is like, well, why would these people that already go to these spots, that already does what we do, come to our spot? It's like, it's like, why? Like, why would they do that? Like, they already know that this spot goes. They already know that probably the bartender's there. They already know the drink specials. They're familiar with this, and people are like very like quick to or they're creatures of habit, so like, why would they come to our spot? So that, because we understood that part, that made us do a theme. It's like, oh, you know what? Let's do R&B. Let's do R&B all night, and hopefully that'll make us stand out. Because all these other spots are like a dime a dozen. Like, they're all doing open format. They're all playing the same shit. But this spot is playing R&B. So that's like a guarantee. Like, hey, like, I'm in the mood for some R&B. Let's go to this spot. So that's what we kind of understood. We're like, oh, let's create some kind of like exclusiveness. Like, we can't beat them with the amount of people that are going in there. We can't beat them with, like, even though like our DJ skills might be as good or better than these guys, they're already established.
Right.
So that's kind of like how we understood it. And so we were doing that for a couple, like, we did that for like 3 like weeks, and we were doing good, and we were picking up, and it was like, cool, like, this is the R&B spot. And then one night we had a slow night, and some girls came in, and they're like, oh, can you play some reggaeton? And they talked to the owner, and the owner was like, oh, can you play that? And we were like, no, like, that's not the theme. And she couldn't get it, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye. And I don't hold anything against her, but it would have taken away from the image. Like, we're, especially since we had just started, like, we're getting known as the R&B spot. We don't want to be known as like, if we come in, if some people like are looking forward to hearing R&B, they come in and they hear that. Not that I got anything against that music. It's just that wasn't what was advertised.
Right.
It's false advertising then. And we were working on building that like consistency.
I think over there it's just, I guess they don't advertise it like they should. So we get a lot of that crowd where it's like they're expecting something else. And I cave in a lot,
Yeah.
Where it's like, my dance floor is empty, people are leaving, why? Just asking yourself like, why?
Yeah.
And then like you hear like, oh, well, they want to hear this, well, I can't play that. So
yeah,
I feel like as a DJ, at least for me, I feel like I want to please as many people as I can.
For sure.
And because that's what gets the vibe, and that's what gets people spending money, and that's how we make our money, So I just feel like they don't advertise it right, and then it's like we get this different crowd, and like, I get it, obviously, like how you just explained it, like you want to keep that consistency, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're not even promoting for that crowd yet. You kind of just want to be like, this is what it is, now do that.
Yeah. When
it's still like not that.
I get that, and I mean it's a good like conversation to be had, because like we're thinking about it out loud, and maybe that's kind of the unfortunate part, that a lot of people that are in charge, like, they don't understand that, like what's kind of going on. But like you said, like, it seems like it's not advertising. That kind of falls back on like really looking at the clientele, like, hey, what kind of people are coming to this spot? Is it people that are out of towners that don't know like all the current songs? Is just like, and they're only stopping here like once a week, like, it's just kind of like a new batch every weekend. And if that is the case, then the most ideal design would probably be, what kind of music would you assume if it's just like some random people that are just popping in every weekend, like a random group? What would you say? What kind of music would you say?
I would just play the top 40.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly it though, right? Like, if it's just a random batch of people that are coming in, then yeah, like, it would make most sense for you to just, not for you, but like the establishment, to just play like top 40, because you don't know who's going to be here the next weekend.
Right.
Whereas, a Tuesday, especially like a Tuesday night, might be more consistent. Like that's people that there's not a lot of people that are partying on a fucking Tuesday. So chances are those people might like me be more common like the locals, and then that would be like a good night to have like an established.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're getting a lot of tourists and a lot of randoms, you would want to stick to that top 40, like whatever's popping right now, like what reaches out to like the majority.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I mean, and then maybe now that that's kind of fleshed out, maybe that's a conversation that can be had, or if you get close to that person, then it's kind of like, hey man, like if it's okay, like can I talk to you about something, and how do you feel about this? And if you can't see eye to eye, then it is what it is. It's your establishment. You got to do what you got to do. I'll play what you need me to play. But like I think that's an important thing that I learned about from Clash. And if you get a chance, I don't know if you heard that episode. He's one of my recent guests that I had. He's very very business savvy. And if you listen to the episode, he talks a lot about stuff like that. And even if you don't listen and you just like hit him up, bro, he's the fucking guy.
I've been following him for a while. When I saw the name, I was like, I don't know from where, but I know him.
He's somewhere. The guy, bro. He's the fucking guy. Yeah, he knows, like, he's very very business savvy. And I mean, I had no idea either that like he's just so open. He's very like, dude, I'll help you. Like he's very much like that. Like, you need help, I'll help you. Like, what do you need?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to know you a lot, and I didn't understand that. And it's cool that, because I had the podcast, I now understand it that much more, as to like how willing he is. Also a very like well-rounded DJ.
Yeah.
Maya's tour DJ, does fucking clubs all the time. I don't know if he does weddings a lot, but I mean, I know he does, like, he's super like, he does, he works for this production company that does like events, and they do like in San Bernardino. I mean, I'm sure their spectrum is wider than that, but I know as far as like San Bernardino area, IE, like they have it fucking locked down where they do like all the fucking schools proms, all the dances, you know what I mean? And like the team that he works with, like they have a shitload of audio. They have the line arrays, like trussing, all that stuff, lighting. They have a shitload of stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, if that was like a conversation that maybe you did want to have with one of those important people, and you wanted some like, some a little bit more insight or guidance, he's the guy to talk to. Like he would definitely shed you some like, hey man, like this is probably the way to go about doing it. Or I don't know. He's really good business wise. Like I said, like I vouch for that guy a lot.
Yeah. What do you prefer out of it, all your gigs? What is your like?
My preference?
Yeah.
Like
to do like your favorite.
Let's see. What is my favorite? I mean, I don't know, man. Like I enjoy. I would say all of my gigs. I enjoy most of my gigs. I think the ones that are just most noticeable to me are the ones that like, or where the crowd is like just really there.
Yeah.
Like when that energy is there at its most, that's the ones that stand out to me the most. My favorite genres of music are R&B and like Motown. So anytime I kind of get to go like do some old school stuff or R&B, I love to do that. And I almost always incorporate R&B whenever I do my sets. I always play something that's like R&B related. And that's just like, that's me. That's me, like kind of part of my image. Like, hey, when you hear me, like, I'm gonna play at least a little like something,
right?
And that's just because, like I said, it all kind of like aligns with that whole like, I love to dance, so I know that, that's something you could dance to, for sure. Yeah, I can't say specifically like, oh, I love playing, like this is the perfect fucking spot for me. But I know that, so I will name some parties that I have played at that was pretty cool. So I played at You're Not Down. That's the party in Pomona. It's like the Do Over. but it's more like old school funk based and West Coast stuff. That was a really fun party that I played for. Shout out to John B and Angie V. They throw that party. And then, where you played at the Green Room in Pomona, I really like that spot too.
Oh, yeah, that was a cool spot.
Yeah, the energy is definitely there. Digits is fucking tight.
Yeah.
And
he's dope too.
And that's the also like the epitome of like an open format spot where like I really feel like you can truly go, anywhere, and you can't, like, it's hard to do wrong in that spot.
Yeah.
I think the only way you would probably do wrong is if you do like a straight, like, if you just do like a Playhouse Club set, if you did like all this bottle popper shit.
Yeah.
Then that's probably the only way you could like sink that shit. But that place is just ready to have a good time.
It was more of a college. There was more college people, no? The crowd that goes over there.
When I've gone, I don't know. Like it's like an all ages thing, bro. I've seen like older people in there, and I've seen like late 20s. I'd say like usually like a late 20s is the average crowd, but there is some early 20s and early like mid 30s, early 30s.
Yeah, because I remember that one day that I was there. I think it was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of younger cats, where you would throw that like like that LA, that YG and all that stuff, and they would go.
Yeah, and that might have just been like the particular group that you got, but I know I've probably played there at least like 4 or 5 times, and usually it's like the crowd that I'm talking about, where it's like later 20s, early like 30s, mid 30s.
How do you go about when you start? Say you get a guest spot somewhere. How do you go about acclimating to the environment? I think that's something that takes me a while, especially like in a new spot. Like I wouldn't know. For example, like that night when I was with Digits over there at the Green Room, it took me like the first 15 minutes to kind of like go everywhere, like open format, like where I'm like, okay, let's see how this works, and throw some reggaeton, right?
Right.
Oh, that didn't work. Some hip hop. Okay, that worked a little bit, but not the reaction I got. So now let's go into like Mumbaton.
Yeah.
And let's go some EDM.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, how do you acclimate to an environment like that?
Well, I think an important part of that is getting there early. So like seeing what whoever is opening for you does. That's a big part of it, because that'll let me kind of know like this is what's going on, or maybe like this is the kind of demographic. Like I was gonna actually, it's funny that we bring this up, but I was gonna actually ask you like what kind of demographic was at Bart Lounge, to kind of see like, is it predominantly Hispanic? Is it fucking like we just described, like a big ass tourist spot? Because any like that type of information, that's gonna let you know like, all right, well, if it's a big tourist spot, then it's probably likely that I should probably stick to top 40 as much as possible. Like that stuff is definitely an indication of that. And then also it's good too, like even for like out of state things, I talked to my friend Concrete on here about doing like gigs in Chicago and shit. And that's like another kind of learning curve, where he's talked about the fact that kind of the shit that we fall back on, like for instance, like let's say we're at a party and we're like, we just can't get the crowd going, right, for whatever reason. So like sometimes we could just be like, oh fuck it, I'll just put on This Is How We Do It and shit's gonna pop off, or I'll put on YG and shit's gonna pop off, right? Like we just kind of go to shit, in a worst case scenario. Well, what he was telling me about in Chicago, like he tried kind of doing that and it didn't work at all. Like it would flop, and then like I think the DJs, they're his homies, so they're like, hey, put on Chingy, and you're like, Chingy, like like right there, like that Chingy, and he's like, yeah, like put that on, like that's like their go-to shit. So like that's an interesting dynamic, but it's like, oh duh, like Chingy's like more like from that area, so they fuck with him heavier, and that's a throwback for them that kind of like stands out more,
right? Because because if you're going to Chicago and playing that, the Cali stuff, they're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, I mean they'll fuck with it, but it's like that's from Cali, so like they'll expect you to do that. But if you could, if like shit's not, if that, let's just say that's not popping off as much as you wanted to, or you wanted to kind of like weave, then like you gotta weave in some Chingy or some fucking Chance or whatever, or Kanye, a little bit heavier. You know what I mean? And so like that's the interesting dynamic that I've kind of learned recently too, is that like if I'm gonna go out of state, then you know, do your homework and make sure that like if there's some artists from that area, or you know what is kind of some go-to shit, you know, so you could kind of get some insight on that. And yeah, like I said, I mean, going back to it, it's just like, I think what it sounds like you did is the right thing to do. Like I often compare DJing to kind of like fishing, and I say that, I don't know if you've ever been fishing, but like, it's like, I feel like we're fishermen, so we have like this piece of bait on our fucking pole, right, on our line. We throw it out there. If nothing bites, then we pull that shit back in. Then we put a new thing on. Then we put it out there, and you know, and we kind of just keep doing that until something hits. And then once we see that something hits, we kind of run with that, and then we'll hit them with, you know, we're like the human fucking Pandora, because like if I play like a reggaeton song and the reggaeton's hitting, but then it kind of starts to fall off, then I'll like play like a Drake song, you know, like Mia, and then I'll kind of like make a segue to like some like Nina Sky or like some Lumity or like, you know, like, you know, I mean, you know how all that goes. And then if they fuck with that, then maybe they like reggae. So I'll try to fuck with like a little bit of reggae, and like, oh, if reggae misses, then I'll go back to hip hop or whatever, you know. But like, I mean, from what it sounds like, that's exactly what I would do too. Yeah. It's like, just throw some shit out there and just see like what hits.
And I think that's to give it that I haven't been DJing that long, but the 5 years that I have, it has been so much of that everywhere that I DJ, where they kind of just like let me do me, where when somebody comes in, it's like, no, you can only do this now. It's hard for me to acclimate, because I'm like, but the people want this, you know, like I've DJ'd here before. I know the crowd that comes in here, like, just let me do me. And I think that, like, it kind of irks me a little bit, you know, where it's like they put these handcuffs on you and you're like, you know, and then the people that used to come there is like, yo, like, why you been playing, like, Kesha and Britney and this and this and this all night? And, like, can you throw in, like, at least one?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, I do get it, where it's just like you want to be persistent, and you know, you want to get that vibe in that crowd. And
so I think that, again, like kind of going back to that whole like Clash thing, I think that that's important. Like maybe if you can talk to him, and then if you feel confident enough, then you can talk to the owner and stuff like that, and you know, maybe you could work out something. I think another avenue is that like, I mean, I know ideally you'd want to do it in the club, but I mean, I think another avenue is too, like, you know, putting out mixes and kind of just like letting people know, like, yo, I still rock. Like, I still do open format shit. It's just like, you know, this is very specific type of night. So that's why I got to play like that, you know? But, like, kind of finding a avenue where you can still be creative, like how you want to be, is important, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, I talk about this a lot too. Like, if I ever had a residency at Vegas, like, Vegas is top 40, like, all fucking day, like 24/7, you know what I mean? So I, like, at first thought I might be like, fuck no, I don't want to do that. You know, like, I don't want to do top 40 every Friday and just fucking just play some corny shit, you know, Old Town Road, like, you know, like, yeah, it's just some shit that I don't want to play. But I did say that I would do it. But I would do it if, like, Saturday, Sunday, or some night of the week I had a cool night. You know, like, Friday I'm doing top 40 shit. Saturday, come catch me at this little bar, open format all night, just have a good time. Like, that would be like my release, you know? Like, Friday I'm doing the same, I'm going through the motions or whatever.
Yeah.
But Saturday, like, yo, you could hear me on some cool shit, some fun shit, you know? And that is like,
but that's another thing. Like, would you want to be promoting that, where you feel like you're just going in and going through the motions? Like, I think you're gonna promote where they let you be you a lot harder than.
Yeah, well, you know, like, it's good. It's good that you say that. I like that you brought that up. And it's like, you know, I always say this too. It's like some places or some events you can't believe that you're getting paid, and then some are reminders as to why you get paid. You know what I mean? It's like, this isn't really what I want to do, but I need money, or I need to like pay my bills, or whatever the fucking case is. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of that is like if you do. Oh, hold up. That's the fucking light outside. What was I saying? Talking about I think I was talking about the balance of like doing things that you want to do and you don't want to do as far as like the venue goes.
Yeah, because I said that you would push harder for that one that where they're letting you do.
Yeah, and so and I said, you know, there's some gigs where you're like thankful that you get paid, and then there's some you can't believe that you're getting paid for, right? And I just fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say about that.
That light fucked you.
No, fucking light, dude. I had that. You know, it's funny. I had that conversation with class too, where he's like telling me about that. Like sometimes you gotta pretty much like bite the bullet, and you gotta do what you gotta do, depending on, you know, what you're gonna do. But it's like, it's just like, you know, as long as you're happy at the end of the day, you know. So like on Friday, yeah, I could do that for. Oh, I think I know what I was gonna say. Is like sometimes you might have to do stuff like that. Goes back to our other conversation, but sometimes you might have to do stuff like that so that you can, you know, pursue what you actually want to do. And then maybe at some point, like maybe just stack up enough chips from that Friday night where it's like, all right, cool, like I did that, I'm good on that, I don't need to do that anymore, and I have enough money so that I can just do my party or like the things that I genuinely want to do.
Yeah,
you know, I think that is the beauty of, you know, like being your own boss and then building that brand up enough so that you have that like luxury,
right?
You know, like once you're established, then you don't need to be doing and you've already noticed too, like when we started, we were doing gigs for like $50 or like a fucking, you know, like next to nothing. But now we can say no to shit. You know, it's like, oh, like maybe that doesn't align with my image, or quite frankly, I just don't want to do that. You know, like you really could say that to yourself. You don't have to tell that to the person, but, you know, if you don't see yourself as the right fit for that event, then you don't have to do it. Right. You know, I think that, yeah, man, I think that that's a big part of it. I will say I got to go to work soon, so I'm going to have to cut this. Before we conclude this, I always ask my guest if there's any way possible that someone could help you out, you know, because a lot of people want to help. They like listening. You know, even the fact that they feel like somewhat indebted to you because, like, not only did you just give, like, some free knowledge and you did a session, you know, like, if they like what you're saying, they want to help out. And, you know, so if there's anything like, you know, it could be as simple as getting more followers on your Instagram. It could be, you know, I'm looking for a graphic designer, fucking hit me up, or, you know, or even just like, hey, like if you liked what you heard, you know, just say what's up, you know, like I'm always like looking for new cool people. Just reach out.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely like to expand. So if anybody can hook me up with those connections, that would be like the best thing for me, where I move out of my comfort zone, where I'm not just in Palm Springs. Like I would like to bounce around into a lot more areas and open up that horizon where I'm not comfortable and I'm not doing the same things, you know? So definitely would like more connections to the right people where they could put me in that spot, you know, in that position. Yeah.
All right, type. Yeah, I mean, I think that says like pretty much he's letting people know like, hey man, like I'm willing to work too. Like, you know, this guy, just to put things in perspective, like this guy drove out from Palm Springs to my house just for, you know, air quotes here, but like a free podcast, you know. He definitely doing me a solid, and that's why I told him how much I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it like that makes a statement on its own. Like, here, here's this guy that, you know, is not getting paid, that's willing to do this, you know, and he's, you know, he's about the hustle, and he already like made that claim. You know.
Yeah.
Any social medias or anything that you want to push out? Feel free to let the listeners know right now.
The Real DJ X on Instagram, DJ X on Facebook, and yeah, come check out our parties. Me and Wally will be at Bart this Saturday. So, you know, anybody from out here that wants to go over there and, like you say, experience that true open format, we really get to do whatever we want. So, wherever you want to go from there, you know, you could play whatever you feel in your heart.
Tight, man. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely put some cool stuff together for that. I'm excited. It's always a great time whenever I play down there, and I feel like it has been a reflection of that, like playing open format for sure. But all right, everybody from behind the booth, my name is DJ Wally. This is my friend DJ X. Thank you so much for listening. Till next episode.
Deuce.